think it is reasonable to be scared. I feel like everyone is scared no matter where you're from, if it's studying abroad or just literally moving 10 minutes away from home, because it is a big change. So it is challenging, it is scary, but you'll figure it out. And everyone who's doing it with you is also figuring it out in their own ways. So you're not alone in that. And there's people to help.
Hello everyone, in this video we are interviewing and having a conversation with students of RHIT, people who are planning to study abroad and people who are planning to get admission in specifically RHIT, what things they need to know.
So I'm Parth Sundaram. I grew up in Bangalore, and I actually have lived for the last 4 years in California. So I'm not an international student technically, but I am on the executive board for SASA, which is the South Asian Students Alliance. So, we kind of make it our job to be as inclusive as possible to people of South Asian origin. So, I think our goal is just to provide a community for people of South Asian origin. So
Tulsi, I'm a junior or a third year computer science major. I also grew up in Bangalore and I've lived there my entire life. And so now I've been here for 3 years. I think SASA, like Parth mentioned, is one of the big reasons that I feel like I have a community on campus in terms of where I'm from and the kind of people that I grew up around. So that's been really great. And also, it's just Rose is a very small campus, and having that kind of small environment allows you to get to know people on a better level where you actually see them every day rather than seeing them once today and never again for the next 3 months.
yeah.
So you see the same people, you get used to them, and then you just have a connection with these people, and eventually you make friends. It takes some time. It takes some getting used to because it's a different syllabus. It's very different from what I've done back home. But once you get used to it and once you try to make friends, you will make friends and you feel this sense of belonging.
Starting from the beginning, what was your parents and family's reaction when you thought about studying abroad? Specifically RHIT, that is, वो process के साथ ही गया होगा. But when you thought about studying abroad in the initial stage, what was your family's reaction? What was their reaction basically?
So for me, it was always the expectation because my dad also studied abroad. So it was very much a norm. And I knew I was going to do it. Applying to Rose-Hulman was a bit different because it's a smaller school and we didn't really know a whole lot about it. A lot of people who've gone here before. So that was a bit of a process. But I think meeting people from this community, people who've been at this school longer than I have, and also reaching out to either familiar faces or through mutual friends, finding people at Rose-Hulman, professors, faculty, whatever it is, finding that kind of connect and talking to them definitely helped build that confidence for my parents to be able to send me here.
And for me, as I mentioned, I'm not an international student, but I can speak to what it felt like to choose Rose-Hulman. I live in California right now, so there's a huge Desi community there, right? So when I chose Rose-Hulman, I think my parents were a little apprehensive about the culture shock and stuff. And I think I would not have chosen Rose-Hulman if I didn't do Catapult. So it's this Do Hafte Ka, there's some program that they have in the summer. So, high school students can come and sort of introduce themselves and see what Rose life is like, essentially. And they do some projects and stuff. It's really fun. And I think once I reached there and I did that, I realized that, first of all, the teachers are really welcoming and, you have a pretty good interaction with them in your classes. And secondly, that people on campus, honestly, they really want to get to know you and your background and your culture and all that. So I think that's what sealed the deal for me.
So as an iSchool expert, I'm really glad that you both are here and having a conversation about your experience about studying abroad. And if I talk about family and friends, can you tell me the difference in terms of friendships?
So I actually went to an international school in Bangalore. So it was a bunch of students who've studied elsewhere before and just come down to India for maybe a couple of years, or their families have lived abroad before. So I feel like in terms of a culture shock, it wasn't a lot because I've been exposed to that culture before. And my parents have lived abroad too. So I feel like that wasn't that much of a difference for me. But I feel like it is different in terms of social norms, where making friends in India is almost a convenience because you have the same classes, everyone's going to the same places, you're stuck together
Sure.
from 8 in the morning until 5 in the evening, and you're almost just like bound to become friends. But the difference here is everyone's taking different classes. Everyone's in a different major, everyone's in a different program, everyone has different interests. So it's not like you're forced to be in the same spaces at the same time. So definitely it was more of an effort where you have to go out of your way to be friends with someone. But just because of how welcoming everyone is and how friendly everyone is, they will make sure that they're checking in on you. And we have a bunch of resources on campus, especially in terms of freshmen who are first year students. We do have like residence advisors and sophomore advisors who live with you in your buildings. And they're essentially like your big brothers and sisters on campus. If they feel like you've not come out of your room for a while, if they feel like you've been skipping meals, that kind of stuff, they will check in on you and make sure you're doing okay. Your parents,
That's great.
your
Yeah,
parents can always
that's
text them, call them, and check in on you as well. So that's been great.
that's great, right?
Yeah.
Let's just ask some different questions also. Can you share something about yourself, your course, and your specific, the university experience?
Mhm.
So I didn't mention this, but I'm a CS major, right?
Okay,
So
great.
I think so far it's been nice. So Rose-Hulman is definitely like, I don't know what people may have heard, but I feel like our curriculum is pretty, extensive. Classes are not easy. So it'll put you through a rigorous process, but I think that you genuinely can learn quite a bit. It's not like, you're gonna show up and just listen to the professor lecture and just leave and have like, that's not the end of it. Like there's gonna be a lot of projects, homework, whatever. You'll have a pretty good learning experience. So I think it's a double-edged sword. Classes may be hard, but I think the learning at the end of it is quite a bit. And I think something that I like about it is classes are really small, right? So everybody's professor, like they know you. Which means that if something happens, you can go talk to them, or you can just stop by their office hours for just chat with them, check in. You build a pretty good relationship with them, right? And if you're thinking about something like research, if you want to dabble in that or just get some experience, then that's a good route because your professors know you, so they might call you in to sort of start doing something like that. So yeah.
That's great. That's great. Like apart from your friends in studying abroad, the teachers are also very friendly and frank, right? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Please, Tulsi.
Adding
Yeah,
to
tell me.
that, I will say that the student to faculty ratio is definitely a really big thing here because I think it's almost 11:1 in terms of all of professors on campus. In any class you're in, especially so in your freshman year, you usually have the bigger classes, and as you go through your 4 years, the classes become smaller and smaller. So I don't think I've ever been in a class with more than 25 people. So your professor knows who you are within the first week, and you're not in class, they will email you and check in on you. I've had professors email me and wish me for like Indian festivals which I think is really sweet because they go out of their way for that.
Yeah.
And most of our classes are also project based. So it's not that you can just get away with, it's not like how in India I would study for when I have an exam, or I I could honestly slack off the entire year, make it up in my final, and I'm good to go with an A. That's not how it works. Every single assignment, every single quiz in class, every single project weighs down to that final grade. And I think that was a bit of an adjustment, and it definitely took some time to get used to that. But that's what's different, and it is hard and it's challenging. But like Bart said, everyone's really approachable, so you can just get help. And apart from your core academics, if you really want to do a project or research, because we're an undergraduate focused school, some of the resources that would only be available to you if you're a graduate student at some of the bigger schools is available to you even if you're a freshman here. Honestly, you could be walking by a lab, don't know what it's called, you have no idea what they're doing. You could honestly just ask someone and they'll get you involved. It's just as simple as that. So that's really nice.
So, when you started your process of studying abroad, in the beginning state, why you chose RHIT, and why like how did you find RHIT?
I had a college counselor when I was in high school, and he knew of a couple of students who've been here in the past. So that was definitely nice because he knew what it was like. And one thing I faced in high school was that there weren't a lot of women, or even most of my friends were not in the STEM field. And I feel like I needed that. I needed that kind of support system. So definitely Rose has been a step up in that game where everyone around me is doing something STEM. Everyone's doing equally challenging courses. Everyone's going through the same struggle, and knowing that I'm not alone in it, and I'm not the only one, is kind of nice.
Great. Do you want to speak something about it?
I think the way I found it was something similar. There was some exposure event Rose had in California. So I think I also knew someone that went there a few years ago. So I just spoke with them, and then I did catapult. I think that was the big thing for me. So yeah. But for students that are looking to shift, it can be a little daunting that the school is like, it's in the Midwest. It's far from, it's not in a big city. I think at the end of the day, like, Rose does a really good job of making up.
So, what do you want to say about the process of studying abroad when you started until now?
I'm gonna say it's not easy. It definitely was a struggle applying to a lot of schools and going through that entire process. My younger brother is doing it right now, and I know it's not any easier on him, even though he's seen me go through it. So it is a process, but I feel like as long as you have a good schedule to it and a good system, and you know what you're trying to achieve at the end of it, if you can keep that goal in sight, then I think you should be fine.
Well, I applied locally, so
Mhm.
I mean, I will say college applications in general, in America at least, that's all I can speak for, are pretty
Mm-hmm.
lengthy, and schools will judge you holistically, which I think is also something new, right? Because they're looking at your application and what did you do the last 4 years, what kind of a person are you, and things like that. So I think maybe that's something that you would need to bring out more in your application.
Okay. So, during your application, you must have applied to very, different universities. Why you chose specifically RHIT?
Sure.
Mhm.
When I got into some of the bigger universities in the area as well, right? And for me, the biggest things were the instructor to student ratio she mentioned earlier is really small. So I enjoy the small class climate, the climate where you can
Okay.
go to someone in your group. Like, you're always seeing people that you know on campus and like in your classes and stuff. I think that's a big thing for me. The second thing is I like the fact that Rose's it's a polytechnic to a certain extent, right? Because it's mostly STEM classes, which I thought was good for me. I don't have to take too many general education classes that would sort of be unrelated to what I'm going to do later on in life. So I like that part of it as well. And yeah, and then I think I mentioned this earlier, but doing Catapult really showed me what the professors were like and what people on campus were like. And I think we have clubs also that sort of try and make adjusting an easy process for students, right? So like the club that I'm in, Sasa, we try and make it feel like home for South Asian students, right? So we're gonna have actually Diwali in 2 weeks. We're organizing a Diwali festival. And our professors are gonna come and attend and all that. It's gonna be a lot of fun, but yeah.
Very sweet. Very sweet. What about you, Tulsi? Why you
Actually, I
chose?
feel like he's not giving enough credit to some of the events that the club's been doing. Like, for example, Diwali is definitely the biggest one. I think
Yeah.
it might be the biggest event on campus in terms of attendance, because last year I think we had almost 500, 600 people show up,
Yeah.
which is huge for a school with
Very
only
nice.
students.
Yeah.
And it's really nice because we get to show off our culture and people get to try Indian
True.
food and these stations and all of that stuff. So it's really nice. We're definitely opening up culture, and similarly, there's other cultures who have similar clubs. So we get to go for those events as well and learn about that stuff. But choosing Rose for me was honestly, it just seemed like I was gaining more for what I was investing in it as compared to the other schools that I was looking at. Getting used to it and also knowing that these are the people around me and I can count on them was a huge thing. And just I think within the first 2 weeks, I was like, oh my God, I know everyone here. And which is cool because it's almost like a small family that you have over here. And yeah, choosing Rose was the student faculty ratio, the number of clubs and opportunities we have on campus for how many students we have is absolutely incredible. Like, everyone can find something to do. Like, you will find some, even if it's the most like tiniest of passions that you don't think anyone in the world shares with you, you will find people here who are interested in doing the same thing.
I was gonna say, I think that's a problem that many freshmen actually have, where you come in and there's so many exciting opportunities that friends I know have, like, and this is what I did as well, sign up for like 10, 15 clubs, and then you find out that okay, maybe Like I don't have the
That's
time
huge.
for that. But there's a lot of things to do,
True.
yeah.
Okay, so basically, both of you are very, very happy with the experience, right?
Mhm.
So when you tell your experience to your siblings or your friends, like we are doing this in our campus today, and we are going to celebrate this, what are their reactions?
Think my brother's excited for college just because of the things that I'm doing or the things that I've seen on campus. For example, we have a Formula One SAE car competition. So students actually build a Formula One car for competition purposes and then they get to
Okay.
race it. And my brother is very into cars. So him seeing that I can even go and sit in a lecture when I don't know a whole lot about cars, he's jealous and he wants to do it when he can. So that's definitely one
True.
thing.
What about you?
Well, my sister, she's my twin sister, so we're kind of the same level of like how far we are with our education.
Yeah.
She is in a bigger college, right? And she said that sometimes she feels like it's too big in terms of the fact that she can go an entire day without seeing someone she knows, right?
Oh,
And yeah,
opposite.
yeah, so completely the opposite. And I think she's a little more introverted than me, so she sometimes is jealous of the fact that our campus is so small and tight knit. But yeah, I think as Tulsi was talking about earlier about the Formula One club, there's a lot of clubs like that for especially for engineers. Like there's so much stuff that you can dabble in. I know there's this club called Chemicar, which I'm a CS major, so I could be getting this wrong, but they essentially make like the basic chemical reactions and they try and like fuel a car with the energy that comes out of it, which is, it's kind of a niche thing. It's not even something that you think of as like something that's really popular or out there, but it's a big
Yeah.
thing. So it's just amazing to me sometimes.
Have you experienced anything different and in terms of culture? जो मतलब how did you dealt with it basically?
Some things that are ingrained in us as Indians is a little different compared to other cultures. And you have that with anyone, even city to city in India, sometimes there's differences in how you
True,
speak.
true,
And
true.
I think just knowing that if someone is like trying to learn about it, it's not coming from a place of ignorance or like from a point where they're judging you, but rather everyone's very curious to learn about where you're from, the food you eat. And that whole thing of, oh, Indian food smells a certain way. I've actually never seen it. I love cooking. And anytime I cook, my friends will be there. And they've tried everything to the point that one of my friends was in my room and she's like, can you make me biryani? So I think
Great.
as long as you're open to explaining it and letting people learn about you and your culture, they're open to sharing about their culture. And there's a lot to learn from different places around the world.
I think most international students get put in a certain,
Mhm.
I think it's BSB, one of our halls, residence halls. Like they tend to get grouped together. So it's not like, you're going to be in a place with people that all are of the same culture and you're kind of like the outsider there. But because I applied as a local student, I was in one of the halls that sort of made up a lot of people that are from here. And I feel like I had the same experience in the fact that people really like it's more everything comes from a place of curiosity. So it's like they honestly want to know. And my friends and I, we did something fun last year where I would pick out a dish from them. So we have some Indian restaurants here. I would pick out a dish from them and choose the spice level of that dish. And
Oh,
then if they ate it without a problem, they enjoyed it, then in return then I would buy them some kurkure or something like that from the Indian store nearby. So
how is your schedule is like when you wake up, what did you do? How many groups have you joined? And are there any Indian groups specifically? And what are the curricular activities you have chosen for yourself?
So we go classes from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So there's obviously a variation of classes. Like you could finish all your classes in the morning or have one class and then 3 classes in the evening. Like that kind of stuff happens. So usually from 8 to 5, I'm pretty solidly booked with my classes or getting homework done in between classes. Apart from just classes, I'm part of Greek life. So that's just something I got involved in. So that's essentially like social communities for people who are interested in the same kind of things. So I'm in a social community for women on campus. So that's what I'm
That's
involved.
great.
And then I'm currently running a club called Wolfpack, which is women in computer science. So there's very few women on campus, and of that, the computer science community is even smaller to the point where some classes I'm like, okay, there's maybe 2 of us or 3 of us. And having this community where we meet every Thursday for an hour is really nice because there's some students who are older than me who've done more than I have. They understand it better. And so they sit down and give advice. And then there's 2 years of classes who are younger than me, and I can give them advice. So it's just learning from each other. And then sometimes things don't go your way and you're complaining about a class, and they actually understand it because they're going through the same stuff. So being able to sit there and just feel like a small, I don't know, it's like a tight-knit friend group. And we just sit there. If there's nothing to do, we do homework together. If we have a career fair coming, we'll edit all our resumes together and that kind of stuff. And we always have free food, so people always enjoy playing music and just eating and talking to each other. So that's
Great.
nice.
In terms of my schedule, I think she covered classes pretty well. Usually students take around 4 classes, 4 to 5 classes per quarter. It's major specific, right? But
Yeah.
I think that's around 4 hours per day, right? In that 8 to 5 period. So there's quite a bit of time for you to sit on campus and maybe read before your next class or, you know, something like that. And otherwise, there's a lot of clubs, right? So I think it depends on how much you want to choose, but at least for me, I'm in clubs for a good 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours. I'm in programming, competitive programming, so that meets sometime certain days a week for an hour. And then SASA, which I'm on the board of, it gets really busy. We have quite a bunch of stuff coming up, yeah. But so right now we're planning in the middle of planning for Diwali. So we're having, you know, the club come together and sort of learn a few dances that we're going to perform on stage for Diwali.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have some players that are going to play the sitar and tabla and put together like a classical
Wow.
instruments. Yeah. Quite a few talented people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very talented. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Basically, my last question to you is people who are, planning to study abroad and they want to study abroad, but हम इतना overthink कर लेते हैं that it's difficult and these issues will be there and that. What will you, tell them or advise them to, go for it and follow your dreams? As a student, आप ज़्यादा अच्छे से बता पाओगे that in the beginning you will feel this, middle of that you will feel that, and right now it's all worth it.
I think it is reasonable to be scared. I feel like everyone is scared no matter where you're from, if it's studying abroad or just literally moving 10 minutes away from home, because it is a big change. There's a lot of things you realize. You come here and you're like, oh, like I never learned how to do that. And it's very small things, but you pick up on it. And things like laundry, I feel like a lot of people were just scared about doing their own laundry because that's not something
Okay.
you do at home, right? And I honestly don't even feel it. Like it's just something you have to do because at some point you're gonna run out of clean clothes, and what are you gonna wear to class or if you're meeting your friends? So it's just small tasks like that that you pick up on. And there will be challenges. Some days will be hard. You'll miss home because with the time difference and everything, it is a little hard to find that exact time where you can call home and like check in on people. When things happen at home, like family events, something bad happens, it sucks being away from home and you feel it. And you feel it most when something like that happens, but you get used to it. And when you go back there, I feel like it was really nice because my parents were able to recognize the fact that I've grown a lot and I've learned and changed a lot as a human being in a good way. Like there's so many things that my dad was just scared of in terms of, oh, I don't think you can survive on your own. But now he's just like, no, like you're fine. Like you've learned so much on your own. And everyone has that learning curve. Maybe you're extremely independent now and that curve is very small. But I thought I was very independent and I feel like I've made had a big learning curve coming here. So it is challenging, it is scary, but you'll figure it out. And everyone who's doing it with you is also figuring it out in their own ways. So you're not alone in that. And there's people to help.
What about you, Parth?
Yeah, I think just I think it's very freeing, you know, for especially if you're sort of surrounded by your family a lot, to sort of be on your own and kind of, okay, now I have to take care of my own food, my life, my laundry, whatever else, right? And I think once you come to any college, actually, there's a process of maturing that you just like when you go back, you realize that, you know, maybe I changed more in the last 6 months than I have in like the last 3 years, because it's just new experience you're thrust into, and it's just, you know, it's a new life. Yeah. And in terms of international students, like being scared to go abroad and stuff. I'll say it's a scary task, but it's also a scary task for people like in general to go to a new college, right? So if you really feel that, okay, this place looks like it's a good fit for me academically or culturally or whatever else it is, I'd say just go for your dreams, because the cost of like missing out on what could have been really good is going to be higher eventually if you sort of give up on that dream. So
How is your professional experience? Are you people earning? How was your journey through that?
I think Rose-Hulman is firstly very good about giving aid, right?
Mhm.
So I know a lot of people, they do merit aid and they do a lot of need-based aid. So if you feel like, okay, I have to take a loan and it's going to be really expensive, I think Rose-Hulman does a good job of like reducing it for people that need it. Um, and also in terms of like what you can do, there are a lot of jobs on campus. Like actually the shirt I'm wearing right now, I work at our sort of tutoring center.
Okay.
So calls from students in the area that need help with math problems. It's, it can be anywhere from like basic like fraction, decimals, stuff like that to calculus. So it sort of also keeps you on your toes because it makes sure you have to know your stuff like well, no, if you want to teach them. But I think that there's a lot of things for you to do on campus jobs wise. So you're always going to be earning a little bit for yourself if you want to. Yeah. And also Rose-Hulman, I think they do a decent job of like preparing you for career fairs. So if companies come and show up and sort of talk to prospective students, you'll be prepared well for that in terms of your resume. And just, we have some counselors that sort of help you prepare a storyline and things like that for your career. So
Adding to that, yeah, campus jobs are really, really helpful. And Rose-Hulman does a really good job at like being fair in terms of if you're international, local, in terms of giving you that aid and scholarships if you deserve it. I know there are students who've come from India or even other countries who have massive scholarships to come here. Even if they don't really need it, I think they recognize the fact that you're good and they want you here, so they will make sure they get you here. And then in terms of on-campus jobs, there's some that are very academic where you can like TA for a class, you can be a teaching assistant. So that's something I did for a beginner level CS class. I would sit in there for 2 hours, sit at the back of the class, anything anyone needed help with, they would come to the back, ask me whatever they needed, and I would help them out with it. But it was also 2 hours of dedicated time where I was doing computer science work. And if I wasn't helping someone, I could do my own homework and actually walk up to the front of the class and ask the professor to help me with my homework in a different class. Like that always works out. And in terms of, you can also grade exams. Professors and departments will hire you to do that. You can take notes for people if you're good at taking notes and you go to every class. You can take notes and give to someone who maybe aren't the best at like keeping I don't know, keeping with the flow of the class and keeping up with how the professor goes. Um, Non-academic, like what Parth said, that's one of the jobs you have on campus. You can also volunteer to be a student worker at the recreation center, at the gym, just sit at the reception, say hello to people, and then continue doing your homework. I give tours on campus because I feel like I need that social interaction and I love just talking to people. So I give tours for maybe 2, 4, 6 hours a week. It depends on my schedule. If I don't feel like doing it this week, I just completely sit out. Like this quarter is a hard quarter for me, so I'm just not doing the job this quarter. So that's completely fine. In terms of career development, freshman year, I decided that I did not want to do a job for the summer and I decided to go home for 3 months. But then after I finished my second year, I was like, okay, I need to get a job. I can't just sit at home and waste 3 months. So we have career fairs on campus where they have a range of companies for different majors, different industries from the Midwest and the East side of the country that come in and offer jobs. You can walk around to different booths, talk to these employers, see what they're interested in, see what you're interested in. Some of them have same day interviews. They'll call you in the evening and be like, okay, come in for an interview. Some of them are purely behavioral, where they're just asking you questions and they want to see how you react to those questions and how you talk about yourself, your skills, accomplishments, that kind of stuff. And then sometimes it's technical interviews where you will sit there. For CS, you'll sit there and code or fix a problem in someone's code. So that kind of stuff they prepare you for. For example, the company that I had a same day interview for, I didn't know what was going to be on the interview, but Career Services, which is this department in charge for careers for all of us, they have a specific person for every major who's in charge of understanding the industry, how it's doing, what kind of companies are hiring, what they're looking for. And when I said I had a technical interview, they put me in touch with a CS professor who helped me prepare for the technical interview. Again,
Okay.
small school, you can reach out to anyone and they will help you. And
Yeah.
before I did the job, it also helped that they knew people who've done that job before. So I could talk to them about the work culture and just how inclusive or diverse or whatever it is.
A plus in every term, right? What advice will you give to the international students applying to RHIT specifically?
Okay. Coming here, one thing that a lot of people found really wild was that I hadn't visited the campus before I enrolled, and I was here for classes. But it's not that easy, like flying all the way from India just to see campuses for 2 hours. That's not
True.
easy.
True.
But we have made available a whole bunch of like student tours where there's videos of us giving tours on campus of everything, meeting professors. We also have an admissions department that any interested student or parent or guardian or whoever can email and say, like, I want to talk to this person. We also have a portal where you can click on it and say, get guidance by a current student. So what that does is if you're from India and you say you want to talk to an Indian student, they'll probably reach out to me or another Indian kid in admissions who's working on this job. And then maybe you say you want to talk to an identity organization and they'll put you in touch with Parth or whoever else is on exec boards for those identities or those identity groups. And then professors do it all the time too. Like the head of the computer science department is actually Indian. And I know that he's gone out of his way to do a whole bunch of events and seminars to just talk to the experience of an Indian student or an Indian professor at Rose-Hulman and how that's been, because he's been here for a very long time. Yeah, so if you ever need anything, our website is pretty accessible, and if you're able to find that spot, or even if you can't, it's literally just, I think it's admissions at Rose-Hulman. If you email that email account, someone will get in touch, and we're very fast with our responses.
So see, literally, I'm so convinced. I just want to study abroad in RHIT. And this whole video is about like how will your experience of studying abroad and specifically with RHIT is so beneficial, so enriching, so worth it. So I'm really happy and grateful to having you both here in this video. If you want to ask some of the other questions also, which we haven't covered in this video, just tell us in the comment section. And हमारे viewers को और कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे, Parth and Tulsi?
I'll say, I think about studying abroad in general. Like we
Yeah.
said, it is challenging, but if you're even thinking about it, I say go and do it like with all your
Yeah.
interests. See what it is, talk to students who are there, whatever schools you're comparing, talk to students from both campuses, see how different it is, and see what you align with more as a human being or something you want to challenge yourself with, and just get into it. Like it is a jump, but I think at the end of it, with the experiences and the things you learn, it is worth it.
I'd agree with that. I think if you're worried about, adjusting on campus, I'd say the first thing that you should focus on is just figuring out what you're interested in and then just going for it, because I feel like automatically, at least for me, friends followed from that, right? And that sort of gives you like a community of people where you can go to. So just follow what you're passionate about, and then the rest will fall in place itself.
Thank you so much, Tulsi, and thank you so much, Parth, for having this conversation with us today in this video.